And are you going to any of our country houses before you leave England, Mrs. Cheverly?
Oh no, I can't stand your English house parties. In England, people actually try to be brilliant at breakfast. That is so dreadful of them. Only dull people are brilliant at breakfast. My stay in England really depends on you, Sir Robert.
Seriously?
I am quite serious. I want to talk to you about a great political and financial scheme. About this Argentine Canal Company, in fact.
What a tedious practical subject for you to talk about, Mrs. Cheverly.
Oh, I like tedious practical subjects. What I don't like are tedious practical people. There is a wide difference. Besides, you are interested, I know, in international canal schemes. You were Lord Radley's secretary, weren't you, when the government bought the Suez Canal shares?
Yes, but the Suez Canal was a very great and splendid undertaking. It gave us a direct route to India. It held imperial value. As for this Argentine scheme, it is nothing more than a commonplace stock exchange.
A speculation, Sir Robert. A brilliant, darling speculation.
Believe me, Mrs. Cheverly, it is a swindle. Let us call things by their proper names. It makes matters much simpler. As, we have all the information about it down at the Foreign Office. In fact, we sent out a special commission to inquire into the matter privately. And they report that the works are hardly begun. As for the money already subscribed, no one knows what has become of it. The whole thing is a second Panama, without the quarter of the chance that miserable affair ever had. I hope you've not invested in it. I'm sure you are far too clever to have done that.
I have invested very largely in it.
Who could have advised you to do such a foolish thing?
Your old friend and mine,
Who?
Baron Arnhem.
Ah, yes. I remember hearing at the time of his death that he had been mixed up in this whole affair.
It was his last romance, his last but one, to do him justice.
But you've not seen my chords yet. They're in the music room. Chords seem to go well with music, don't they? May I show them?
I'm not in the mood tonight for Silver Twilight or Rose Pink Dawn. I want to talk business.
I fear I have no advice to give you, Mrs. Cheverly, except to interest yourself in something less dangerous. The success of the canal depends on, of course, the attitude of England. And I am going to lay a report of the commissioners before the House tomorrow night.
That you must not do. In your own interest, Sir Robert, to say nothing of mine, you must not do that.
In my own interest, my dear Mrs. Cheverly, what do you mean?
Sir Robert, I will be quite frank with you. I want you to withdraw the report that you had intended to lay before the House, on the ground that you have reasons to believe that the commissioners have been prejudiced or misinformed or something. Then I want you to say a few words to the effect that the government is going to reconsider the question, and that you have reason to believe that the canal, if completed, will be of great international value. You know the sort of things ministers say in cases of this kind. A few ordinary platitudes will do. In modern life, nothing produces such a good effect as an ordinary platitude. It makes the whole world kin. Will you do that for me?
Mrs. Cheverly, you cannot be serious in making me such a proposition.
I am quite serious.
Pray allow me to believe you are not.
But I am. And if you do what I ask you, I shall pay you very handsomely.
Pay me?
Yes.
I'm afraid I don't quite understand what you mean.
How very disappointing. And I've come all the way from Vienna in order that you should thoroughly understand me.
I fear I don't.
Sir Robert, you are a man of the world, and you have your price, I suppose. Everybody has nowadays. The drawback is that most people are so dreadfully expensive. I know I am. I hope you will be more reasonable in your terms.
If you will allow me, Mrs. Cheverly, I will call your carriage for you. You've lived so long abroad, Mrs. Cheverly, that you seem unable to realize you are talking to an English gentleman.
I realize that I'm talking to a man who laid the foundation of his fortune by selling to a stock exchange speculator a cabinet secret.
What do you mean?
I mean that I know the real origin of your wealth and your career. And I've got your letter, too.
What letter?
The letter you wrote to Baron Arnham when you were Lord Radley's secretary, telling the Baron to buy Suez Canal shares. A letter written 3 days before the government announced its own purchase.
It is not true.
You thought that letter had been destroyed. How foolish of you! It is in my possession.
The affair to which you allude was nothing more than a speculation. The House of Commons had not yet passed the bill. It might have been rejected.
It was a swindle, Sir Robert. Let us call things by their proper names. It makes everything simpler. And now, I am going to sell you that letter, and the price I ask for it is your public support of this Argentine scheme. You made your own fortune out of one canal. You must help me and my friends to make our fortunes out of another.
It is infamous. What you propose, infamous.
Oh no, this is a game of life, as we all have to play it, Sir Robert, sooner or later.
I cannot do what you ask of me.
You mean you cannot help doing it? You know you are standing on the edge of a precipice, and it is not for you to make terms, it is for you to accept them. Supposing you refuse.
What then?
My dear Sir Robert, what then? You are ruined, that is all. Nowadays, with our modern mania for morality, we all have to pose as a Parthenon of purity, incorruptibility, and all the other 7 deadly virtues. And what is the result? You all go over like ninepins, one after the other. Not a year passes in England without somebody disappearing. Scandals usually charm, or at least interest. To a man now they crush him. And yours is a very nasty scandal. You couldn't survive it. If it were known that as a young man, secretary to a great and important minister, you sold a cabinet secret for a large sum of money, and that was the origin of your wealth and your career, you would be hounded out of public life. You would disappear completely. And after all, Sir Robert, why should you sacrifice your entire future rather than deal diplomatically with your enemy? For the moment, I am your enemy. I admit it. And I am much stronger than you are. The big battalions are on my side. You have a splendid position, but it is your splendid position that makes you so vulnerable. You can't defend it. And I am in attack. Years ago, you did a clever, unscrupulous thing. It turned out a great success. You owe it to your fortune and position. And now, you've got to pay for it. Sooner or later, we all have to pay for what we do. You have to pay now. Before I leave you tonight, you've got to promise me to suppress a report and to speak in the House in favor of this scheme.
What you ask is impossible.
You must make it possible. You are going to make it possible. Sir Robert, you know what your English newspapers are like. Suppose that when I leave your house tonight, I drive down to some newspaper office and give them this scandal and the proofs of it. Think of their loathsome joy, of the delight they would have in dragging you down, of the mud and mire they would plunge you in. Think of the hypocrite with his greasy smile, penning his leading article and arranging the foulness of the public place card.
Stop! You want me to withdraw the report and make a short speech claiming that I believe in the possibilities of the scheme.
Those are my terms.
I will give you any sum of money you want.
Even you are not rich enough, Sir Robert, to buy back your past? No man is.
I will not. I will not do what you ask of me.
You have to. If you don't...
Wait a moment. What did you propose? You said that you would give me back my letter, didn't you?
Yes, that is agreed. I will be in the Lady Gallery at 11:30. If by that time and you will have had heaps of opportunity. You have made an announcement in the house in the terms I wish. I shall hand you back your letter with the prettiest thanks and the best, or at any rate, the most suitable compliment I can think of. I intend to play quite fairly with you. One should always play quite fairly when one has the winning cards. The Baron taught me that.
You must let me have time to consider your proposal.
No, you must settle now.
Give me a week, 3 days.
Impossible! I've got a telegraph to Vienna tonight.
My God! What brought you into my life?
Circumstances.
Don't go. Consent. The report shall be withdrawn. We'll arrange for a question to be put on it tomorrow night.
Thank you. I knew we should come to some amicable agreement. And now, Sir Robert, you can get my carriage for me.